Good morning and welcome to Staying Mission Driven, the March edition 2024. Thanks everybody for being here this morning. It's kind of a little bit rainy. Maybe it's going to rain today. It's like a 30% chance here in Wenatchee, but most of the time where I live, it never makes it all the way to me. So I can see that it's raining when I look west out my front window. It's probably raining in Wenatchee, but it's not raining here. And then the weekend's supposed to be really nice. Looking forward to that. All right, so today I have a couple of announcements, including some Cougs Give things, and then I want to share some 2023 preliminary Master Gardener program data with you. And then we're going to get into some information from the Telling Our Story team, which is one of the strategic planning teams that we have on the program side. And then Master Gardener Foundation of Washington State, Tana Hastert, and then Kathy Lamoureux and Debbie Benbow will give an update on the Advanced Education Conference. And if there's time, we can do Good of the Group. I'm curious about how plant sales are coming along. So let's jump right in. So Cougs Give is right around the corner. We talked about this last month too, but really now it's like really right around the corner, just a couple weeks away. And for the third year in a row, WSU is highlighting our Endowed Chair campaign. And the way Cougs Give works is we need ambassadors, and ambassadors are people who, you share your pride in the Master Gardener program through email or through social media. You lead by example by making a gift on the day of Cougs Give, and just really come together to share all of the good work that WSU Master Gardener program does across the state. So we have a goal this year to raise $16,000 on April 17th, and I'm happy to say that a challenge from Master Gardener leadership has been put out there and will be used strategically leading up to the day of Cougs Give to encourage folks to help unlock that challenge. So right now that is sitting at $6,800 and growing. I learned yesterday afternoon that we actually have that it's a little bit more than what I have printed here right now. But so that's a gift from the WSU Extension Master Gardener Leadership Team and from the Master Gardener Foundation of Washington State Board. So thank you to the board and to my leadership colleagues for creating this challenge and helping us reach that $16,000 goal toward our Endowed Chair campaign. Let's see, I'm going to put the link in the chat so you can sign up right now to be an ambassador. By clicking on that link, you can sign up to be an ambassador. And if you do, I ask that you shoot me a quick email because I'd like to know who our ambassadors are, and it will allow me to send you some tools and resources for you to use moving into Cougs Give. All right. And next, I just want to share a few of the preliminary data from the 2023 survey that I ask Master Gardener coordinators to fill out each year. These are just the simple ones that I've had time to actually look at and don't have to spend a lot of time analyzing. But I'm happy to say that our 2023 numbers were about 500 volunteers better than they were in 2022. The gray box, let's see, the gray bars are the certified volunteers. So at the beginning of 2022, we had 2,848 certified volunteers, and then the red box indicates the number of trainees. So total in 2022, we trained 599 new volunteers. And then in 2023, at the beginning of 2023, we had 3,557 certified volunteers. This includes emeritus volunteers as well. And we trained 578 in 2023. And then here's what our hours looks like. The 2023 are the red bars. I mean, the gray bars, and 2022 are the red bars. In 2022, we gave 250,000 hours. And in 2023, 301,000 hours. Which kind of tracks. We had 500 more volunteers and 50,000 more hours. Interesting. And then we also track, most counties, not all counties, but most counties track clinic questions by program priority. And the ones that don't are working on figuring out how to do that. So you'll see here in 2022, the gray bars, and then 2023, the red bars. We did a much better job in 2023 of categorizing our plant clinic questions by priority. And then this is the educational outreach events, so classes, demos, workshops, and field days taught by topic by year. Local food is a popular topic to teach on. And then the final slide here shows you the numbers of adults and youth who attend the educational outreach opportunities based on program priority. So 29,000 people attended our local food outreach events. All right, now I want to switch gears to program impact and public value. We talked about this a little bit last month, and we are continuing on this track. Over the next few months, the Telling Our Story team is really going to focus on program evaluation so we can tell that compelling and impactful story about our program and attribute that to public value. The program, the Telling Our Story team is made up of program coordinators and then program assistant Debbie Benbow. And this is a struggle, right? Program evaluation for our Master Gardener program has been difficult, not only at Washington State University, but across the nation. This is a conversation that my colleagues and I have been having really since I started in 2007. And we're better at it than we used to be, but we need to be better than we are today. So the Telling Our Story team was, working with them, and they're saying, oh, we need a roadmap. We need to have some kind of, path to get there. So I'm going to kind of slowly lay that out over the next couple of months. But essentially, it all starts when you want to evaluate your educational outreach. You have to know what you're trying to teach. And all of that starts with the program priority toolkit. That is where you should start when you are developing your educational outreach classes in your local counties. And then the next piece of the tool that will help you on that path to program evaluation is the logic model. I shared a tiny bit about that last month, but we're going to work on those and get those solidified. So you'll have those to develop your programming from too. And then success indicators. And I'm going to talk about logic model a little bit more in a few minutes. And then I'm also going to talk about success indicators. How do we know we're going to be successful? And then also Qualtrics surveys. We all have to be using the same surveys in order to be able to evaluate and tell that compelling, statewide compelling and impactful story that attributes to public value. I'm going to talk more about this as we go here. But in this photo, you're seeing a class on planting tomatoes, and it's a photo that I pulled down from the Chelan Douglas County Master Gardener page that that I get to still have access to. Thank you very much for that. Those photos are great there. And it was a class it's a demonstration is what it looks like to me on planting tomatoes. And it was at the end of May. And these people looked pretty cold last year. I didn't realize we had such cold weather at the end of last May, but apparently we did. So the quote that's here is one that I made up, right? For the sake of the example here that I want to walk you through. I had more tomatoes than ever last year, and so I donated more than 50 pounds to the local food bank. So backing up, let's just say that the teachers, Master Gardener teachers, they grabbed that program priority toolkit when they were planning this class. And they use the established learning outcomes that are in that toolkit. And they also use the intersection between horticulture and local food to develop to develop the class. So during the class, they taught about the issue of food insecurity and the health and wellness risks that come with food insecurity. They also talked about and taught about the having local the benefits that come with having access to local food. People who have access to local food eat more fresh fruits and vegetables than people who do not, therefore decreasing their risk for diabetes, risk for obesity, heart disease. That's all proven data from other studies that we can that we can look at. And they also taught that, so you can help by donating your extra produce to food banks so that we impact the food supply chain. Then let's say they taught about proper planting and watering and feeding. And then later in the season, they held another workshop or demonstration on pruning tomatoes, and with the purpose of increasing yield. Both of these demonstrations were evaluated using indicators for success that I'm going to talk about in a minute, and the logic model, which I will also talk about in a minute. And participants were given the local food Qualtrics surveys immediately following the demonstrations. And they were asked that very first one, the evaluation that they received after class, they were asked, okay, what did you learn? What did you know before you came to class? What did you learn about? Did you improve your knowledge on this subject? And then we want to survey them 6 months later. And we want to ask them, okay, what did you do because of what you learned? Did you grow those tomatoes, feed those tomatoes, water those tomatoes, prune those tomatoes like we taught you to do? So we're going to collect data on that. They're going to say, yes, I did that. Yes, I did that. And then a year later, or 18 months later, we want to survey them again. Okay, you told us that this is how much you learned. You also told us that you did all of these things. So now what happened? And they're going to tell us, oh my gosh, I had more tomatoes last year than I ever had before, so many tomatoes that I was able to donate them to the food bank and help the food supply chain. Wouldn't that be great if we could do that with our program? because then I could take that data that you're all collecting and write a public value statement that is out of this world in support of the food supply chain. And I'm going to show you what one of those might look like. So let's move on. Why does all of this matter? Well, it matters because our program serves the WSU Connors Resilient Washington vision. We help provide a secure food supply system, help maintain natural resources, and ultimately support healthy communities, families, and individuals. We know, intrinsically, we know we do this, right? We know that our program benefits not only ourselves, but the people who interact with our program, and even the people who don't interact with our program. But we have to have data that backs up our claims. We have to be able to show with data that what we do matters. If we can do that, be able to tell that compelling and impactful story about the public value that we provide, it will improve WSU's ability and our partnering foundation's ability to garner additional financial resources to support our programming. Let's see, I think it went too far. Yeah, it went one too far. Okay. So one of the things that I've been working on with this Telling Our Story team is this idea between the difference between program impact and public value.
City, they will be able to
Please
get
make sure you're on mute. That would be much appreciated. All right, so program impact, as you can see in this photo, is the impact that individual services at organizations, so the impact that our Master Gardener program has on the people who directly participate in that program. So in the photo, there's some kids working with Master Gardeners, learning about soil health, it looks like, or composting, or, it's hard for me to tell exactly what it is, but these are the kids that they're directly interacting with the Master Gardener program. And, so they're learning about soil. Maybe they're going to go home and tell their moms and dads, we need to compost because healthy soil is good for growing food. And, so that's a change in behavior. And then they'll have healthy soils, compost to put on their garden soils, to grow healthy plants. So the public value side describes the value that an organization or activity contributes to society. So this photo here, it's a public garden. There are people in that public garden. They're enjoying the space. They're walking through it. Maybe they're gardeners, maybe they're not. Maybe they know about the health benefits that come with being in a garden space. Maybe they don't. They know that they like being there, and they know that it feels good for them to be there. So that's the public value. They're the non-gardeners, non-program participants. We have to be able to tell these folks why our program should matter to them. So I started by saying, there's a roadmap here, the program priority toolkit, and then the logic model. And this is just another tool in the toolbox for us to use. It's a planning tool, and it really helps us focus our actions for successful evaluation. Its structure insists on us defining the outcomes that we want to accomplish, that we intend to make happen. So it's inputs. Inputs are the people, the partners, the money that we need to have at our disposal to be successful with whatever it is that we are wanting to accomplish. The outputs are those activities. So they're the educational outreach events, the fact sheets, the trained volunteers, the teaching gardens, the number of participants who attend our educational outreach. Those are the outputs. And then we get to outcomes. And outcomes are those changes in individuals. We divide outcomes into short-term, medium-term, and long-term. So a short-term outcome is knowledge gained. Easy. Most county programs evaluate on knowledge gained. Fantastic. We also need to evaluate on the medium-term outcome, which is, okay, you learned this. We know that, you learned this because you told us you did. But did you make behavior changes? Did you start taking care of that tomato like we taught you to? Did you start pruning that tomato? Did you start feeding that tomato like we taught you to? That's the medium term, the behavior change. And then when we get to the long-term outcome, that's the condition change. The condition change would be, what happened because you learned this, because you did this? And ideally, what happened would be, oh my gosh, I had so many tomatoes, I didn't know what to do with them, so I donated them to the food bank. And we measure how many pounds of tomatoes get donated. So we know that, we're creating these programs. We want people to learn. We want people to change their behavior, and we want this certain outcome. We want them to be successful, that we want them to have so many tomatoes, they don't know what to do with them all. So how do we know that we're going to do that? So we've crafted this beautiful logic model. We've defined our inputs, our outputs, and our outcomes. How will we know if we're successful or not? Success indicators. In business, where there are widgets to sell and dollars to make, it's a lot easier to measure these things. And a lot of times they're called key performance indicators, right? Many of you probably know that already. So, let's just say ABC company has a goal to sell 100 widgets per day in Q1, generating $100,000 in revenue. So success indicators or key performance indicators are quantifiable measures that gauge our success against defined targets. So ABC company, number of widgets sold, it's a defined target, number of widgets sold, or it's a defined indicator. And then amount of money we're going to make, defined indicator. In our line of work, that's a lot harder to do. We're not selling widgets. We have to figure out what our widget is. They're generally a lot softer, right? Harder to put our finger on and harder to measure. So if we stick with that tomato example, and we're just talking about short-term indicators, we can measure knowledge gained, percent knowledge gained. We have formulas that we use to do that based on how people answer those questions for us. So percent knowledge gained on how to plant, water, and feed the tomato. Percent knowledge gained on how to prune that tomato. And then we get at the medium-term indicators. So if people learn, how to plant, water, and feed, then we want to know for the medium term, okay, did you do that? number of participants.
Yeah,
who-
that you'd have to find somebody to,
Number of participants who planted, watered, and fed that tomato plant like they were taught to do. Number of participants who pruned that tomato like they were taught to do. And then looking at the long term, we want to know percent increase yield off that tomato plant. And we want to know the percent of participants who donated food to food banks and pantries. Because the goal is that food supply chain. We want to show that we make a difference in that food supply chain, local food. So the Telling Our Story team has some goals that we're wanting to accomplish in 2024. We want all counties to evaluate at least one local food educational outreach activity, short-term, medium-term, and long-term, using the available tools, the Program Priority Toolkit, the logic model, success indicators, and surveys. And we also want all counties to evaluate at least one other educational outreach activity of their choice within climate change, plant biodiversity, or water conservation. So we picked these because based on the 2023 data, every single county in Washington delivers local food outreach. So we thought that one would be pretty straightforward. And then every county in Washington also did educational outreach in one of these three others. I want to say that if you have programming already going in outside of these four, please evaluate it. But we will not be able to have the logic model success indicators available for program priorities outside of these four until later in the year. The Telling Our Story team commitment is to have the logic model success indicators and Qualtrics surveys for local food available by the end of April. And then by the end of May, we'll have those same tools available for climate change, plant biodiversity, and water conservation. So if you, in the counties, can evaluate, at least one local food and one other, and provide that information to your program coordinator, they have, at the end of the year, the program coordinators then, and some of you actually, I think, write these impact statements. They give those to me, program impact statements to me, and then I can turn them into public value statements. Remember the difference. Program impact is the impact that our program has on its participants. Public value is the value that our program has on society in general. So as an example, just, of a public value statement, this is a describing the issue of food insecurity and associated societal risks. We know that food insecurity disproportionately impacts traditionally marginalized communities, households with children, and impoverished households. It puts these folks at greater risk for decreased academic success, chronic physical health conditions like diabetes and obesity, and also mental health disorders. And this costs the US $481 billion annually. This comes out of the CDC. In Washington, obesity costs the healthcare system $2 billion a year. Diabetes, $6.7 billion a year. And mental health, $708 million a year. And what I read about the decreased academic outcomes, putting a value over time on that, they're still working on that. There's not really a number that goes with that, but you can imagine it would be quite large. So what did the Master Gardener program do about that? So we have local food with lots of classes that we teach and workshops that we hold. I want to note that some of this is accurate and some of this is just purely made up. This is not anything that I've shared as a program impact for our program or public value, because we don't collect data around these things. So under reported impacts, you'll see knowledge on growing plants for food, increased knowledge on growing plants for food. So that's true. We know that. We have data to back that up. We do not have data to back up the next claim, increase fruit and vegetable yields from growing plants for food. That's just purely made up. We also don't have data to back up increased food available at local food banks and pantries. I do know that we donated 5,000 vegetable seedlings last year to partners in need. And then when we get down to public value, we know, like I said, we know intrinsically that we do these things, but we need the data to back it up. So you're looking at the public value statement, and part of that is in italics. So we know that we affected food growing and security practices on 3,800 people, 38,000 people across Washington through our educational outreach, plant clinics, and classes. But we don't know that we increased engagement among community members in growing food and donating produce to local food banks and pantries. I would love to be able to have data to back that up. Because remember, the goal is increasing food supply, decreasing food insecurity. We know that the Extension Master Gardener program donated 96,500 pounds of produce and 5,000 vegetable seeds, valued at $135,000, making nutrient-dense foods easily accessible locally, feeding 160 households for a year. We know that. I can do the math on that based on secondary data out of the Department of Health. And then the bottom, WSU Extension Master Gardener program improves food access and individual and community health and wellness for a resilient Washington. Some of our data backs that up. Some of it I wish was better. Like knowing if we had numbers for how many people are donating extra produce because of what they learned from us, that would make that statement stronger. So before I pass it off to Tana for the State Foundation, I guess what I'm asking you as volunteers is to work with your program coordinators when you are developing your programming. Use that program priority toolkit. There are learning objectives in there already. Use the logic models, the success indicators, and the Qualtrics evaluations when they're available. To evaluate at least one local food and one of the other program priority outreach: climate change, water conservation, and plant biodiversity. So between now and when those other tools are available, grab a hold of that program priority toolkit. Take a look at those learning outcomes. Look at the intersection between horticulture and the priority. That's the issue. That's when I showed you, the right here, the issue. I guess the issue there, the intersection between horticulture and the priority is the issue. So I'm asking you to grab those when you're doing your program, when you're putting together your classes. Know what you want people to learn and evaluate on that using the tools. And I also want to say I appreciate the help of the Telling Our Story team, program coordinators. It's Mary Watts, Sarah Moore, Erica Johnson, Tim Kohlhoff, and Debbie Benbow. And then new to the team is Caitlin May from Pierce County. These are some hard concepts. This is hard to do. Like I said, we've been working on it since 2007. We are making progress, and we're making progress because of this team, because of coordinators, and because of volunteers like you who are willing to take that next step and help us collect this data so that we can grow our program and improve our ability to access new financial resources to support us. So I think I can open it up to questions and then pass it off to Tana Hassert, president of the State Foundation. Thoughts, comments, questions?
This is Alice Allison from Benton Franklin.
Yes.
I sure need some guidance because a lot of our outreach is to incarcerated youth.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we don't see that individual, maybe we see him once, maybe we see him a whole bunch, and we certainly don't identify, who they are, or so.
Yeah.
I can see getting short term, but I don't know how you get any long term out of that.
Yeah. So Alice, it's funny that you are the first to speak up, because when we're working on this separately, your program is always in the back of my head thinking, this doesn't really fit. We're going to have to talk with Alice to get different measurements for that program and work with the Juvenile Justice Center to get secondary data from them that supports the work that you're doing there. And maybe those kids aren't coming back, and that's what we want, right? We want them to be out in the community and not coming back into the system.
Well,
So,
that makes me feel better, because I was going, I can't do this.
yeah.
And the other part of it is we have to be very sensitive to all the different cultural and language groupings.
Right.
We can handle the Spanish, but when we go to our refugee place, we got 6 different languages going.
Yeah.
So.
That your program is fantastic, and I'd love to be able to work alongside you, Rachel, and the leaders at the center and figure out what we can do to get some longer term data.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. Anything else? Looks like, oh, there's a bunch of chats here.
My question's just on kids ingesting all kinds of things that are probably causing a lot of these mental health issues. And I'm wondering if we can get, scientific handouts or something that explains why other countries have banned certain things and get that information out to the public. And my idea is possibly it can be tracked through observant teachers in schools, different things like that. Once they've received that handout, maybe we can collect data on if households have made changes in their purchasing, avoid the center aisles. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud because I personally have experienced the trauma of food effect on my kid.
Yeah.
And everybody's laughing because he's asking questions he already knows the answers to, has bright inflamed skin, and I'm just dying inside because that's my kid. But everybody thinks it's funny because he's just acting out and being silly, but I know that's not him. And I know he knows the answers to these questions. And so it's fascinating. And I just wonder if there is science-based information. How do we change the household mindset of, stop buying the pretty bright colored fruit roll-ups? I'm not saying like you can't ever have them. I'm just saying like if you're a regular buyer of those, I worry that, a lot of kids are taking the brunt of their behavior when the parent is feeding them things that makes them spiral, including sugar. I mean, we all know sugar.
Yeah.
So those are my thoughts. And how
So
are
I
we?
see there's,
Yeah.
so there's people, so my first, that's an important thing, Bobby, but it's,
Yeah.
where's the intersection with horticulture? The mission of our program is horticulture-based science, right? And I don't see what you are describing as squarely in horticulture. So we
Right.
have programs at WSU, SNAP-Ed is one of them, and other nutrition-based programs.
Okay.
I don't see that as something that is in the
Sure. Pertains to our segment.
but having that locally available fresh food, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Supports your ideas. It's just
Right.
not the same. Yeah.
Okay.
Jennifer, this is Jana. If I can jump in, if you are interested in that type of programming, it may be something where you can partner with the MasterGard, with the SNAP-Ed program locally. And I'm
Yeah.
not sure if there is one in Grand Adams, but it's, we do have Master Gardener programs that do partner with the SNAP-Ed program, in that SNAP-Ed is teaching, people to eat fresh and local produce and food available, and then master gardeners are there to help teach people how to grow it, or how to act, or they're accessing it at the food bank or whatever. So there is that partnership opportunity, but like Jennifer, I agree that that is something beyond the scope of horticulture, but it may be an area where you can partner.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you. I just searched it. It looks like there is a Grant Adams SNAP-Ed. So thank you. Great.
Good ideas. Anything else? All right. Tana.
Good morning. So the academic wonk in me really enjoyed what Jennifer presented. And she's laughing because we've talked about this before. But why is telling our story using good, solid data and demonstrated outcomes important for the foundation? Well, we need to tell our story in order to expand access to resources at the state level. If we're going to begin looking at state-based grants, for instance, or if we're going to be able to expand attendance at our advanced education conference and expand that to other states and demonstrate to potential registrations what people can gain, we need to have these facts behind us. So just as on the program side, demonstrating the effectiveness of what all of our master gardeners are committed to doing, it also directly impacts the way our foundation can be successful. And what I'd like to do this morning too, I know it's spring break for some this week or next, but I'm also going to give you a short homework assignment. The representatives that serve on our board are incredibly courageous individuals. They step up not only to act as an advocate for your counties, but a liaison, an important connector between the state foundation and local programs. They inform us so that we can ensure we're moving forward in a coordinated way that's respectful. It's a hard job because every one of them has their hearts firmly planted in their county program. And we're asking them not only to communicate what's going on in the specific counties, but we're also asking them to step up and be advocates for the state foundation. Sometimes that balance feels right, and sometimes we have to work a bit harder to get that balance. But the representatives on our board members are so critical to ensuring that we are measuring effectively what we're doing as a foundation, and that we're moving in a direction that's not only respectful, but will result in better statewide success for all of our programs. And that we're supporting Jennifer and the work she's doing through Extension. So your homework assignment, take a minute. If you don't know who your board reps are, find out and tell them thank you. We try to do that often, but it means a lot coming from their fellow master gardeners. So we really are working hard on that evaluation piece as well. We will have wonderful tools as a result of what Jennifer and her team are producing, and we will be able to have increased success as a result of our collective efforts as a board. Thank you very much. I wish you a lovely spring. Deborah, I am envious of your tulips, but I have to say the daffodils in the Pierce Valley are wonderful as well. So thank you. Thanks, Jennifer. I'll pass it back.
Thank you, Tana, for the support and the just being able to work with you and the state foundation and all of the reps, knowing that we support each other. You have my back, I have yours. It feels good. Appreciate that. All right. Let's see. Kathy and Debbie, AEC.
Okay, can I go ahead and share my screen?
Sure.
Okay. So the Advanced Education Conference is coming up in September. It's going to be virtual. We have we'll have 35 classes. Some will be pre-recorded, some will be live. And then the added value to that is all of those classes will be available by recording for 30 days after the conference. So save the date. Registration opens on June 1st. And the other thing that I'd like to point out here, and Kathy will talk a little bit about this in a minute, but if you know of somebody that you would like, that you think would be a good speaker at the conference, go to this menu item, scroll down, and there is a button that they can push and go to a request for proposals. So they fill out their information, their bio, the topic they would like to teach, and that will come to our program development team. There are a few days left that they are still looking for just a few speakers. It's pretty much, our schedule is pretty much filled out, but we've still got a couple more openings. So be sure and mark that, and I'll put it in the chat. The other thing that we need is we need sponsors for the AEC to continue to go on year after year. It it costs more to put it on than what we take in registration. So having sponsorships is critical. So this is the other tab that you can share with companies that you know that might be interested in sponsoring. If they go there to the get involved, there's a sponsor packet. These are the benefits they'll see for sponsoring at different levels. Many of our county foundations do sponsor at different levels, and we could not put on the conference if we didn't have the sponsorships. So with that, I'm going to put the website address in the chat,
I did it.
and then
I put it in there for you.
oh, thank you. Okay, great. So I will stop sharing and I will turn it over to Kathy now. So thank you.
Oh, and the lilacs in Spokane. Oh my goodness.
I know, I know. I said that on April 1st, I'll switch over to Cougs Give for just a little bit.
Okay.
But I really like those lilacs, very springy. Debbie touched on it. You know, my main responsibility for the conference is developing the program. And we are just thrilled with the caliber and the diversity of the speakers we have. One of the things that we can say is that we have maybe just one, but we have a speaker in every program priority this year. It's a really nice, varied mix of focus that we're going to be able to present. We actually have out of the 35, we have 25 speakers that will be accepted, and those are all from the RFPs. So that's a really good percentage of people that we get who just say, "Hey, I want to come be part of your program." So we have 10 open spots, but we have about 6 people in process. So we really only have about 4 open spots that right now don't have a probable name attached to them. But please, if you feel like presenting, or if you know of somebody or you've heard of somebody that you'd like to have a wider range, a wider reach, by all means, you can email me, or you can go to the website and send them the website so that they can go in and fill out the RFP. It's pretty exciting, and we're talking to another, in addition to our current keynote, who just released this really awesome TED Talk. And so you can get a Rebecca Macken if you want to go search for her. She's got it up on her website. She just released a super fantastic TED Talk that I'm sure is very similar to what we're going to hear, so you can kind of get a little preview. And we also have another speaker of national caliber who's very interested in working with us both this year and next year. So things are really looking up, and thanks to everybody that helped us get this far. And next meeting, we will definitely have a final program that we'll be sharing.
So a question came in about registration. So early bird registration is $109, which is, if you think about it, is a real bargain. It's 35 classes. It's about $3 a class. So let's see.
Can't beat that.
Right. The other question, when will the complete list of speakers be available? We should have that by the end of April. Is that correct, Kathy?
Probably. That's what we're aiming for, but registration doesn't open until June 1st. So if we have a couple of stragglers, but I would say 95% of it will be ready in a month.
Right. And in the next couple of weeks, I'll be populating the website with the speakers and their bios and topics. So you can watch for that. Check back often.
Okay. Thank you. So, one more announcement that I wanna make. So the April meeting, I need to cancel the April meeting. My, I've had something personal come up that is, conflicting with that date. So I need to cancel the April meeting and we'll come back together on May 23rd, 2024. Anything for the good of the group. Plant sales. How many thousands of tomatoes are we growing right now?
I think Irene's on the call, but I think we've got about 3,500 in Pierce County.
Yep. Skagit County, how many tomatoes do you got going?
So I think that we have almost, I think they unexpectedly have like a 3,900, but we don't want to sell that many. So we have a pretty robust program getting them to the local food banks and community gardens. So any of the extras, we make sure get planted somewhere for someone to use. So we always plant more because we want to make sure that we have what our target is.
And we have over 2,000 flowers and then lots of shrubs and perennials and things like that as well.
Yep. Yeah. And we grow a lot of fruit producing perennials, you know, cane fruit, and we have blueberries and raspberries and rhubarb and figs and, you know, grapes, we do all of that as well. Yeah.
Excuse me. I unmuted myself just to be able to find out if I can get a spelling on Rebecca's last name. The TED Talk
Kathy?
Oh, yeah, I'll put it
in the chat.
Put it in here. It's Rebecca McMacken. There you go.
Thank you.
Anything else? Okay. Thanks, everybody. The recording will be posted on YouTube, and we'll see you in May, if not before. Have a good one.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.